feel so sad to see and read and hear about a lot of marriages breaking up these days. And I know there's quite a plethora of reasons as to why unions tend to break. But it's quite sad nowadays that we just hear about it left, right, and center. But could it be that it's always been like that? And it's just because there's social media that provides the opportunity for everyone to now have a voice, speak out? Probably.
Yes, marriages do fail for a number of reasons, and I think it leaves much to be said, really. According to research, the reasons why unions tend to break is for lack of communication, which is one of the most important aspects of a healthy marriage. Infidelity is another thing. When one of the parties engages in infidelity, it becomes very devastating to trust the other and even the well-being of the other person. Then there's difference in values. When people come together, they have different values, different goals, different dreams. It can create a bit of conflict and lead to a breakdown in relationship. Another one is money troubles. Financial issues, one of the most common sources of conflict in relationship, and it does lead to breakdown in marriages. And then there's lack of emotional support. If there's no connection, no strong emotional connection or support system within the marriage, it can never be healthy, because one partner would then feel neglected or unsupported, and very quickly they're on the road to breakdown. But in the midst of all of this, I think one thing we all, or society, fails to realize is there is no prep school for marriage. There is no school you go to prepare you for it. And now society has come to a place where even those in healthy relationships tend not to speak out so much, because what works for theirs may not work for others. And we don't want a case where now social media has this cancel culture where you say one thing, a group of people don't agree with you, and they jump on you very quickly, forgetting that you're only sharing what you know or what may have worked in your experience out there. You're putting it out there for other people to borrow if it resonates with them. But ultimately, I think what I really want to share is that in unions, we have to always bear in mind that you need two whole people to come together and fuse together. Now, if an individual has been raised one way, the other person has been raised the other way, a union means them coming together, and in the process of fusing, there's bound to be friction. That friction comes up with a lot of issues before they finally fuse into one another. And then they face challenges together, overcome it. Years down the line, we're now seeing beautiful marriages and we're hashtagging them goals. You don't know what it was like before they got to what you now term as relationship goals. It's quite difficult. You've been raised one way, he's been raised another way. You're coming together to raise yourselves and then to raise other human beings. It's not going to be that easy. And moreover, there are so many issues that will come up as a result of our own upbringings in marriages. I'm not an expert, but I find there are quite a lot of useful information out there, but too much information, especially going into marriage as an institution, is quite bad. You can never know too much. You can never have evolved too much. You can never have known yourself too much. If you have, you will not be willing to bend and compromise and continue that journey. That's just the concept of marriage. It's such a very difficult, beautiful, and fulfilling institution. It can never get taught in school. I found some information that may be useful, and I'll post it right here.
There are 3 stages to all relationships, and over 90% of all relationships will fail during stage 2. And if you're watching this, you're probably in stage 2 right now, or it's coming for you soon. Stage 1 is what we call the honeymoon stage. We all know what this is. It's probably the most fun and exciting part of the relationship. This is where you guys are learning about each other for the first time. You're having lots of fun dates, lots of sex, lots of laughs, but you're also only really sharing the neatly filtered parts of yourselves. It doesn't mean this is completely fake, it's just massively distorted, where you're only sharing the socially acceptable parts of yourselves that you learn to use to get attention, love, self-worth, and so on. But like all honeymoons, it does fade. And no, it's not because you're not romantic anymore. Keep watching, because stage 2 of the relationship is where it gets brutally real and you begin to trigger each other. This is where all your unresolved childhood traumas get pulled up to the surface. This stage of the relationship particularly kicks in strong after real commitment has been made to each other. That can look like getting married, or living together, or being together for 6+ months. It's also what I call the relationship loop of doom. So how this loop of doom starts is maybe one partner gets triggered first. Let's say it's this guy. And let's say he is feeling unworthy, unsafe, and maybe feeling guilty or ashamed. Whatever these triggers are, it could be with work, maybe he's stressed out and scared. Whatever that is, it causes him to do these behavior patterns, these coping behavior patterns. And that might look like shutting down, stonewalling. It might look like distracting himself. It might look like avoiding pain and pulling away. Either way, this is his way of coping with his triggers, right? But as he does this perfectly triggers his partner, where now his partner is feeling alone, feeling unseen, feeling unheard. As this partner is feeling these pains, she is going to do these coping behaviors. Maybe start to criticize, project emotion, get controlling and manipulative, basically expressing loud emotions to try to get connected again. Remember, this is all learned from childhood. So as she starts to do all these behavior patterns, it will perfectly trigger this person's wounds even more. And as he's feeling these triggers more, he will do these behaviors more, the shutting down, the distracting, the avoiding, right? And as this person, these behaviors to try to deal with these uncomfortable emotions as a result of their partner's behaviors, this will then trigger their partner's wounds even more. And then the more that this person gets triggered, the more they're going to do more of these behaviors. And the more they do these behaviors, the more it's going to trigger this person. So it's literally an infinite loop of doom. Where one person, in their attempt to feel safe and relax and soothe the triggers, these behavior patterns, which are learned from childhood, it perfectly triggers the other person's wounds. And then they do behavior patterns that trigger the other person's wounds. And like the very thing that they're both trying to do to feel loved, to feel safe, has the opposite effect of triggering the other partner to do more of the behaviors to push them deeper into this downward spiral, right? It's just the loop of doom. It's very, very challenging. And very, very few relationships make it past this loop of doom. And they can be stuck in it for years, 10+ years even. But for the very few that make it past stage 2, they learn to begin healing their traumas. They learn to begin looking at their childhood where they learned all these negative behavior patterns. They learn to be more accountable for themselves and begin the steps of healing and growing. This gets them into stage 3, which is spiritual partnership. This is the awakening, where you both learn to realize that you are in each other's lives for the purpose of growth, knowing that you can grow more, become more, and experience more through your differences, appreciating your differences. And you still might have moments of conflict, but you can catch it and see the bigger picture and be accountable for your own triggers without blaming your partner or making it their responsibility to soothe it, knowing that triggers are not personal. Stage 3 spiritual partnership is also where you learn what real love is versus fearful attachment. It's about acceptance, compassion, understanding, appreciation, and forgiveness, and less about control, fear, or just getting something in return. Getting out of stage 2 to stage 3 is a journey that I guide clients through to help process the traumas and negative behavior patterns that are causing them to be stuck in stage 2. And you can still be single, and you can also not be in a relationship and work on this stuff. And if you want to work with me, visit my profile link or just follow me for more content.